What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today we have a special guest, Jimmy, here to talk about leveling, the best ways to do it, and then we're going to show you some grind spots that might be good to go. Also, I took a bunch of questions that a lot of you guys may have had, and if you're interested in pushing leaderboards and just leveling up in general, we're going to be talking about everything you might need to know. So Jimmy, we've been friends for a while. Welcome. And you want to introduce yourself? What do you do?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name's Jimmy. I played Succession Dark Knight. I've been on BDO for about 9 years now. We're on the journey to rank 1 combat globally for all PC BDO. I'm currently level 68, but I have a lot of stored Tag EXP. I stream pretty much every day on my channel over on Twitch. But I'm excited to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what's your goal? Like level 70 by the end of the year, 71 to so on?
Yeah, I'm trying to hit level 70 by the end of this year, and my goal is actually to be the first player to hit level 73.
Oh, nice. Do you know what the current number one is at the moment?
Yep, there's the rank 1 in North America, formerly known Bria. It's currently named Nursey. They're level 71.3. And there's another player in SA named Enemy. He's a leader of a guild called Billions. They have a ton of high-level players, but he's, I think, a little further, around 71.4.
Yeah, I've seen your streams. You've been progressing pretty quickly, and glad to have you here. So, yeah, I have a bunch of questions that I wrote down, and we'll just talk about it. A lot of these are pretty simple, but for the majority of people who are just learning and trying to figure everything out, let's start off with, what are the benefits of leveling past 66 besides, flexing?
Yeah, so one fact is that every single odd-numbered level after level 63, so starting, 63, 65, 67, and that goes all the way up as far as we know to at least level 71, will give you actually 1 point of hidden AP. So that actually is going to contribute to your stats. And I think the coolest fact about that is that it also works in capped content like Solaire. So you might actually have like around 4 AP advantage if you're like level 71 or 73 over someone who's like 65, right?
Yeah.
It can be a big difference. But you also get some passive stats like health. And I guess most recently, the new change in Adonia for the fights, the Adana fights, they actually will take the highest level player for certain tiebreak scenarios. Those are the main advantages right now.
I always thought that was just based on gear, not level, but it's good to know. The Adana fight, that is.
Yeah, it's when they have the same gear score exactly. So like if someone's 871 and another guy's 871, whoever's higher gear score for the top 7 is
Gotcha.
actually going to go to the higher level player. Yeah.
So yeah, how long would it take you, like assuming you're doing everything optimally and max buffs, non-events, that is, to get from like level 66 to 67 and each level going forward? Because I think it scales pretty much the same go past 66, and it's like not a crazy multiplier.
Yeah, it's a tricky question. A new account is at a couple disadvantages over someone who's been storing buffs for a long time. Like you said, event buffs are a major consideration. So a new player who's kind of aware, they got the pre-order on things like Refined Feast, Bountiful Feast. Those are like major XP multipliers. You can get like your 53 combined scrolls. So usually for combat XP players, they think in terms of the percentage bonus. So now if you go to your character profile, right, you can look at applied buffs and you can see the exact number that you have popped. This is actually a very recent feature, but most people tend to normalize around like 1,500% is pretty repeatable. Assuming you can get your hands on like a Book of Combat, which comes from like even like season characters. Things like Old Moon and then this new Ancient book are a little bit less common. But if you can get decent combat XP buffs, it's anywhere from about 600 to 2,000 hours, depending on if we're talking about like, a 1K% player versus like a 3K% player. So having big buffs can help a lot, but you can get that number down around 600 to 1,000 hours is a fair estimate.
Yeah, so how much, I assume you have a spreadsheet on all the XP buffs going on. How much can you get without any pay to win and or spending real money versus how much can you get if you were to just have everything?
Yeah, the main data points to kind of compare, the real way that pay to win historically was big was when people were doing the transfer EXP coupons on a per character
Hmm.
basis, where they would take this amount of XP that they had on their main, say they got to level 66, they would actually transfer it onto a character, and then questing was actually really efficient before Elvia came out around 2021. So a lot of people kind of lost track of XP being something anyone really cared about because yeah, like it was kind of dominated by this very expensive method of buying exchange coupons for like $100, and
Yeah, I
that
remember
was like
that.
high level gameplay, right? Nobody liked XP after 5-man Gyfin fell off, or 5-man Mirmok even. But yeah, if you take away all of the pay to win now, the game has changed very much so after the Adania release, because now Gyfin Underground used to be this new basis. That's like 2022 era, right? So in the last 4 years, um, and you look at like this even hyper focused area of like the last 12 months, we have Star's End is better than Gyfin. We have Orbita, we have Zephyros, Tenebrom, and even like Nymphomari is slightly better than where we were looking at from like the Gyfin perspective. So doing it without any pay to win buffs is going to involve a little bit of I guess the question really becomes how long have you been collecting like your mercenary scroll off your Y tab? That's kind of the most consistent free to play buff that you can get. Then you have other buffs like getting your dedication set. So amplifying a set of combat stones is going to get you 500%, and that wasn't available until very recently, right? So if you look at the kind of timeline for this, you go back to before we had relics, before we had a crystal page. They used to be capped out on maybe 20% on their crystals. That went to 40 once Resplendent Kydex came out maybe 5 years ago. But now we're looking at like over 250, 290%. My XP page right now, I can show you this graphic, but right now you can run about 335% is the number I'm seeing. If you have a full crystal page plus 500%, so you have 835% just between artifacts and crystals. And then 5 pets gives you 25%. That's pretty free to play if you can win pets off the market. They give out a bunch of free pets, and rerolling skills isn't too bad anymore, especially since combat's now like a 50% roll or something like that. It's really high.
Hmm.
And then there's been a lot of other new buffs that they've given. So fairies can be run, and now that we have fairies, you can run things like a good thing you could run, for example, is the Adventurer's Boon buff, the Old Church buff, right? They turned it into a scroll that can be auto-popped. So you have like things like that can be run overnight. You stack things like a Beast Draft. Even like the dummy rates are just so much higher than they ever used to be. And a lot of that is very free-to-play friendly. So I think even like a complete free-to-play player has no problem getting to like 12 to 1400%.
Yeah. So back in the day, RBF used to be one of the top things as just participating, I believe. And when did that change to no longer be one of the top ones versus, I think, was it Adania? Ever since that came out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think RBF was like the dark horse of XP. Like nobody liked it, and it seemed
Yeah.
like it was really good for a bit. So like fun shout out for Bria. I think to my knowledge, Bria is the reason they added an AFK check to RBF because
Hmm. Yeah,
in the
I
past
think I
it didn't
read
exist.
that.
Yeah, and I think the volume of matches that Bria was able to get before has actually been changed a bit. But to my understanding, like RBF was basically on par with the old events that used to run. Because the XP events are kind of like the core of how people push combat XP right now.
Hmm.
Like when there's 1,000% event, you can make a ton of gains, right? That's just kind of additive versus doing it off event. That's why like you'd see someone like Bria might have been grinding during a non-RBF event, and then when a non-XP event, they would choose to grind in RBF. But like when there was an XP event going, they would not be doing RBF, right? So
Right.
I would say it was probably um, yeah, I think Adania is the right timeline when the XP kind of took off, and we're seeing rates 30 to 60% higher than Gyfin. That's kind of it's just kind of pushed RBF XP down a whole notch.
Yeah, so also one thing I've had people ask me is like, are group spots really worth it these days? Because back in the day, there was some sort of 5-man mirror mock rotation where people were like in the Wi-Fi range, and if you
Mhm.
were I think it just like stacked a lot, but nowadays I don't think it's scale. Well, like the multiplier works, but it's just not worth it. Or have you tested anything like that?
Um, yeah, so there, it's funny you ask this. I actually just had a kind of a realization in the XP world maybe 2 days ago. We think that three-man Orbita is possible with three separate tower rotations
Hmm.
using like some specific pull tech. The short answer is that doing group grinds seems to be either not currently balanced by PA to be XP efficient.
I kind of
One of my
noticed that.
thoughts
Yeah.
is, yeah, it seems like everything's right around the halfway mark. Like if it's a three-man grind spot, it almost seems like if they doubled it, it would be perfect.
Hmm.
So one shout for PA is maybe they should investigate looking at kind of doubling them, because I think even if they did double them, I don't think any of them would be meta, but they would be very competitive, at least enough to be worth doing, right? Um, One consideration is that may be kind of like an anti-leech type of situation. But to my knowledge, the other thing that I think should be mentioned is the tag XP, because the tag system didn't really take off until I want to say the end of 2023 or early 2024. And that is an important date because once that came out, then there's all these considerations around how efficient is the XP going to your tag,
Yeah, let's
because now
talk
people
about
are
that. So
doing,
like how
yeah,
does
yeah.
that work if you want to explain it? Like let's say you're grinding on your main with all your buffs going on. Does that one to one carry over to your tag, or is it just base XP from the monster going to your tag?
Yeah, it's probably one of the least understood things about XP right now is how Tag XP is generated. So
Yeah.
any XP that is farmed from a monster that is in the open world in a single man party is 100% one to one to any buffs that you have running, anything in a single man group, right?
Hmm.
Where it gets really tricky is like kind of all the exclusions and things that don't get kind of they're not eligible essentially. That form of XP is not converted over. So the list that includes is more or less you have dummies, which is the main one that is not included, right?
Hmm.
And then you have like the lesser forms of XP, which are things like RBF, Guild League XP, you have like Quest Reward XP, and even smaller things like Marnie Stone XP rewards. Those are not eligible. So if you're like tracking your XP to see how much you're going to have for your tag, some people will like actively grind a session from like A to B, and then they'll AFK from B to C, and they'll write down both of those numbers every day, and then they'll kind of keep track of all their non-eligible XP on a given range, and that way they have an idea of like how much XP is eligible to be moved.
So basically, if you're grinding, it works. But if you're doing anything out of the ordinary, that's not it. It may or may not work. Essentially.
Yeah, for the technically savvy, I guess the other rule that I'm not including here is that if you're in a party, the way that it works, this is a bit technical, but if you tag a monster in your party, that monster gets the same XP nerf as your party condition. So if you have a duo, the rule is that duo parties get a 40% flat XP nerf. So
Hmm.
you'll see a number on your screen. So you get like 1 unit of XP, like 1%. Um, that means that you actually like your party generated 40% more than that one, right? But you get 1% because it was essentially nerfed 40%. That same nerfed 40% figure is given to your tag as well. But where it gets complicated is if you're in a group and your tag, your party members are destroying monsters that you're not tagging, then you're actually getting even less than that. You're only getting 40% of the monsters that you tagged personally. So when it's like a group spot where you're attacking the same thing, the tag XP should be pretty obvious. But if you're like on a separate rotation, you're getting very bad returns on your tag. So those types of grinds tend to be less viable, like in terms of the meta, after the tag XP method came out.
Hmm. So yeah, I think we covered all of the things like the benefits of leveling, more or less the tag XP, how that works effectively, buffs and crystals, which maybe I can get a screenshot later. We'll put it on screen. So like everything you use that's probably out of the ordinary, and yeah. So want to go talk about like the best spots currently as of I don't know April, and we'll just go over those spots, and then you can show what you do, see how it works for anyone else who is trying to find a spot or trying to figure out how the rotation works and everything. So do you want to talk about like the top 3 spots currently, and then we'll go there and showcase it essentially?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So yeah, what would be the top 3 right now, if that's all people
Yeah,
cared
I
about?
think yeah, it's going to be like Orbita has to be on the list. There's a specific way of doing it. Going to a couple towers at once.
Hmm.
Um, the ones that are really tricky is that Sycraia is technically better than regular Orbita, but not as good as the double tower Orbita. So that's kind of rank 2. And then the Star's End has the 6 tower method. I think we can take a look at that, but that's kind of up there, up next to Tenebrum and Orbita and Sycraia. So yeah, it's pretty close between Star's End, 6 tower, and Tenebrum. But we could check out Tenebrum if you'd like.
Yeah, let's go do all that, because I know a lot of people who are just grinding the spot itself but don't know any like secret tips or anything. So hopefully you can showcase that. Which one do you want to go to first? We'll just go there.
Yeah, let's go to Orbita first. Yeah, Orbita is an interesting grind spot because it has 7 different rotations, and on paper, you technically can do a double rotation in any of 3 pairings. There's technically like a 4th, but it's really inconvenient. But this rotation deserves the shout out probably because it has these like double adjacent similar pillars. So like phase 1, right, of Orbita is like kind of like the yellow light phase. You drop 3 pillars, then 3 golems, respectively.
Hmm.
And then after you defeat X number of waves, it goes to orange. But because they have 2 yellow pillars next to each other over here, and then 2 orange pillars over here, you have like better loot opportunities. You can kind of DPS sit down quicker. The rotation itself is smaller, like the distance between the pillars is better.
Yeah, I noticed that
But
every spot has their yellow and orange pillars in different spots, so I was wondering which one would you recommend of like the 6 or 7 they have?
yeah, I mean, I'll grind on any of the 3 pairs, but I feel like this rotation that we're literally at is it's the best single rotation. And then my favorite's probably this one that's just north of us here. Um, Mainly because this one actually has kind of silly, but there's actually like rocks that you can mine. So I end up mining literally 6 different nodes here every time I come in. So
Extra
Orbita has a bit
downtime.
of downtime. Yeah, yeah. And those 2 rotations are quite close to each other. They're not close enough to really duo efficiently or anything like that, but you could technically do it. You just will get slightly worse XP overall.
Yeah, so you start
But
with
yeah,
the right one and then come here, like at what phase do you come here? The second one.
yeah. So the tech is really simple on Orbita, right? It's just you finish a rotation. Most people will take 10 minutes to kill a Titan, and then 2 minutes of AFK waves equals 5 total cycles, right? 5 Titans they call it. That's kind of like the number that most people try and like work toward. I think, people come here for the first time, they might take 15 minutes or whatever. They
Hmm.
might get 4 Titans, somewhere around there. But meta players are able to push a little bit better than that. So maybe like a 930 plus 2 is kind of right around where the fastest timers are seen. So um, what makes this grind interesting is that if you do the double rotation method, you can do like that 930 grind, and then instead of waiting the 2 minutes, you go to the other rotation, right? While the AFK phase is popping, you turn off your Agris, you turn off your paint, because they'll still get consumed, because the mobs will still be getting one shot by the mechanic. I think there's 10 waves. I want to say it's like every 12 seconds,
Hmm.
something like that. And those waves you'll get 100% of the XP for while you're, waking up the other rotation. So you're able to go between them, and essentially you have like every 9.5 to 10 minutes or so, depending on your clear speed, you have basically 20% of the time you're getting XP from 2 rotations at once.
So basically,
So
you're
it,
trading a little bit of trash loot, but for more XP.
yeah, and you're also, for what it's worth, you're generating more trash from the other rotation, because you're getting 6 more golems and 1 more titan every hour. So you're getting like
Oh, so
higher
you're getting
tier
more from the
trash.
boss itself, or like the golems itself, but like the regular trash loot is a little bit down.
Yeah, unironically, it was a ninja player who was pushing trash loot. We started doing double Orbita. We didn't actually try doing this for XP until January because we weren't thinking that you'd get full XP because we tested the distance and thought it was too far. But it seems that the AFK mechanic really reaches far in Orbita specifically. And strangely enough, it doesn't work at Tenebrom this way. You can't do extended Tenebrom.
Yeah, I
So,
sort of noticed that when I
especially-
tried going back and forth, and it just kind of resets. The reset is actually really quick for some reason.
Yeah, the phase itself is shorter, and yeah, the mobs need to be aggroed onto the Manticore in order for the actual AoE to hit. But
Yeah.
here it's like completely automated. So yeah, different tech, which is interesting. I'm curious if like PA was kind of aware of how the AFK was different here. But
I think they
yeah,
did.
Orbita's
Like the
a-
timers are just off, and they should probably have enough data for that.
Yeah. Yep.
So you would consider this the number one spot as of right now in terms of technical numbers, assuming everyone's on an equal XP number.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're grinding at Orbita, Orbita out of all the best XP spots in the game right now has a lower AP cap. So that's
Mhm.
where I have like a specific build that I run at Orbita that I wouldn't be able to run at Sycraia or even Star's End because they're both, what they call top end spots right now. So if you're trying to hit the AP requirement for those spots, you can't run XP crystals. You're probably running target openings or vicious shadows to, optimize your trash. So
Right.
we've done some math. Shout out to Erupero for doing a lot of this, but the number is around I believe it's around 14.4 thousand. If you can hit 14.4 at Sycraia, which some people are, then XP for XP, you should get the same XP as what you're doing for like a normalized double Orbita at well, I think it's like 14.6 for Orbita. So if the thing is like in reality, an Orbita grinder is going to have 500% on their artifacts and another 200 to 300 on crystals. So you have to kind of make up for like 600 to 800% depending on your build of a difference of XP crystals and modifiers that you can afford to run at Orbita because it's only an 1800 cap versus like the 1950 of the higher tier spots.
Yeah. So, like, if you weren't min-maxing, what other spots would you pick? I guess we can go to the next one.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm not sure if you want to show the three pairs, but
Oh yeah, yeah,
I guess
absolutely.
it's worth noting that just real quick, if you look like even this distance, I would have thought this was true, but this giant rotation here, this is probably my least favorite of the three.
I didn't like this one just because it was like a little too far spread out, but maybe it's good.
Yeah, yeah, it's still eligible for the double thing. That's my only point. So like if someone's grinding in the other one, you can still grind over here, and then the other one's over near the node manager where the Marnie realm is. I think that's pretty obvious. That's the one you probably saw me flying up and down.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
for
those are
classes
cool
like,
pairs.
I don't know, the faster and bigger AoE classes, these are probably better. But like, let's say you're a Dark Knight, our movement is pretty good, but still limited compared to others. Would you still recommend these two?
Yeah, you're definitely gonna lose a little bit. That's why that Eastern rotation is just so strong for like a
Yeah.
short range and like bursty movement, like block jumpy class, right? We have it's not bad mobility, but it's not sustainable, right? So
Mhm.
these longer distances definitely are gonna make it harder. So yeah, I guess I'm not sure if you want to go into Sycraia, but I don't have a lot of experience grinding Sycraia. I've only done a little bit there.
Do you have a clip?
Sycraia's just-
I could just add that.
yeah, I'll send you a clip of Sycraia. I can get you on.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so there was another one you want to talk about, like Star's End or
It might just make sense to show because I think Netherax and Arupero are the ones who kind of designed the 4+2 tower. It's just a way to get to like 16.5k trash at Star's
Mhm.
End.
yeah.
That's pretty much tied. It's wild. Like they're both right around like 1,000% or something. It's very close together, like in terms of the hourly. So Tenebrom, there's really no secret tech there. And Star's End I think is pretty straightforward. Really, what it comes down to is like if you're at the point where you are trading off between XP and money, Sycraia is going to be a really good offering, right? Because you have really good like almost like 40 to 50% additional income over Orbita. But what makes Orbita good, I guess, is that it's also more accessible. So you don't have to be
Yeah,
like an
I
MD
noticed that
player to play it.
Sycraia is a lot of RNG, like whether you get the green orb or all the way to yellow or red, or like just in general, more RNG on the shards that I've noticed or the crystal thingy material. I don't know. That
Yeah,
just seems like a higher variance in terms of silver.
the way that I've seen it is that like classes like Drac and like Seraph, the ones that have a bit of mobility, those are actually the classes that are more likely to push the higher tier trash. And I
Yeah, I
actually
can
just
see
don't
that.
think it's possible on a Dark Knight. And furthermore, like I really think it is a little bit behind double Orbita regardless. So it's not like I'm not like enough of a meta player that like I would seek out the money necessarily. I know that the money's way worse than Orbita, but I kind of choose to grind it anyway.
Yeah, convenience is a huge thing. I do like Sycraia. It's just really RNG dependent. Some like hours that can make what 5 bill and up. Some days I just make 3 or something. So, but yeah, consistency is always a huge factor.
Another good shout about Orbita is that it's often empty. Like there's not a ton of people grinding here. The spot
Yeah, I can
I
see.
think is yeah, it's just quieter and it's actually been overtuned. So the damage here is pretty hard. Even at like 850 DR, you're still gonna like if you're not paying attention, you'll just kind of get one shot.
Yeah, ever since
So,
like Adania came out and people are doing Orbita, I've always thought this spot was one of the hardest ones. It's been tweaked multiple times over the year. What would you say the state of Orbita is right now? Because remember when it was kind of like overtuned and they tweaked it and then they changed it again? This is like change number 5 at this point.
yeah, some credit to PA. When they released it, it was really buggy. I think you remember the clips of people throwing the columns onto the Velia fish.
Yeah, I think those people got
Yeah.
banned actually, or like not permad, but like temporary.
Yeah, not a good thing.
Yeah.
I think from where the state of Orbita was originally, I actually didn't even know that Orbita was better XP than Zephyros until I came back here.
I sort
I
of
was
noticed it,
grinding-
but I didn't have enough math to do it. It just like number goes up on the level faster. It's
Yeah,
kind of
when
like
I set my challenge, I thought I'd be fine at like Zephyros, and then I go to Orbita, and then I find out that Orbita can be double towered, and I just lost it. I'm like, this is like gonna be a game changer. But yeah, I think in terms of like the mechanics and tuning, we're looking at like about 1770/720 or so being like the bottom end of what you could do here. The most important thing is just being able to DPS check the golems, the big ones, right?
Mhm.
And just being aware, like cognizant of when that big wave is coming after. So like it'll say the lights of Orbita go on, you get 5 waves, and the 5th wave is going to be massive. And if you're not ready for that 5th wave, and then the Titan's weird AoE, there's definitely some weird mechanics that happen when the red circles go out. There's some damage happening outside of circles that still doesn't seem to be addressed. But they got rid of like I think the DP was stacking incorrectly, and there's another patch I think going out this.
Yeah, I think there was a
on-
bug I remember reading in the global lab notes as of last week, where it's like the minus
Yeah.
30 is still here, even though it's not supposed to be.
Yep, I've had trouble even explaining it to people because they're convinced that it's not a thing, and then I have to like figure out how
Well, I
to
mean,
generate it.
that
But-
seems like it's provable, right? Like the buff, you can show it in numbers, right?
yeah, but it only applies sometimes. Like the orange buff is only sometimes removing 30 TP, and I don't know exactly how to reproduce it, but I have a few clips of it, I think.
Hopefully they
definitely
fix it next
happens
week and
early.
it's no longer an issue. So
Yep. It should be. I mean, on paper it should be easier than Tenebrom, and it definitely isn't. So, I think it could be interesting to see if they made it the proper difficulty, and yeah, that'd probably be good for the spot.
yeah. So for Star's End, actually, hold on. Before we get to that, would you recommend target openings or Vicious Shadows in for Orbita? Just because I feel like they both work, but sometimes it's just harder to get back attacks on Orbita stuff.
Yes, it's a good question. Yeah, I'm over here running dedication, so I have to really think about the problem. I guess the question is whether or not someone is able to get to that like 10-minute target
Mhm.
where they can actually do.
Yeah, I guess for like your average player that's not hard cap gear.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a little bit leaning towards amplify shadows, vicious shadows, just because the main DPS checks are your ability to get the next wave spawned. Your comfort is literally mapped to like how fast you can drop the golem. Like if you can, like a lot of like I know some people in my chat were saying they would try and clear it before the AOE started. That was kind of like their mental, push to like feel like they were grinding the spot well.
I feel like some
the other
classes can do that, but Dark Knight is a little bit tricky.
Yeah, it's hard to be consistent on DK. That's the truth, right? It's you'll get it sometimes, but other times like the mobs just aren't in the right position to land it. But yeah, I think the Titan itself is a huge part of why people lose time. So if you're not at the 1800 AP cap, I feel like Vicious Shadows will do works for you because you can get a lot of back attacks easily on it. I think it just outperforms target openings a little bit, and if target openings doesn't get you to like the 1800 number, I feel like yeah, there's other considerations. Like DP is really secondary to like making sure you can meet the DPS checks here, or else it's just gonna be rough, right?
How bad would you say using all out attack is here for your average player with the negative DP loss?
Yeah, it's tricky. I feel like if it gets you over the barrier, it will be a benefit to you. DP is a bit of a joke here. Like everybody knows that when the golem is shouting, you have to like get the heck out, right? And meanwhile, if you drop the golem, you don't really need DP, right? So I don't think it's that bad. I feel like as long as you're meeting those checks, it surely isn't that bad. I just
Gotcha.
know the longer you grind here, the more you want the DP to come up, right? So the spot that I know of grinding is the Far East, right? Down below. This seems like the best.
Yeah, so one I noticed was if you are grinding in the Marnie realm, the one like the pact in the center right here does not spawn. I wish it would, because I remember watching Lua do this, and he did this pull, and then while doing the main rotation like down there. But Marnie realm does not have these packs over here.
Right.
So yeah, which one? What do you do? Do you just circle? This is the Marnie realm spot. You just go do this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty basic. I mean, I never really went beyond doing 4 towers because I guess I was only there for like the first day or so. But even to push the XP, I've not tried going for like an XP push on DK beyond like I'm watching the same streams as everyone else, right? Seeing the Lua push, and yeah, I was trying to make sure I wasn't like wasting a ton of time. So it came out like right in the middle of my challenge, and I was popping buffs then, and I was a bit resentful about the opportunity cost, right? So I'm trying to study like the meta and the strategy at the same time. But yep, I never really got to do like a 5 tower rotation, but apparently doing a 4+2 is the method. And, I'm not sure if you want to just like pull up one of those and show it on the screen, but
yeah, if you have a clip
like
or something, I can always show that.
Yeah, I'll try and send one over. I'll try and find something.
But yeah, like this one is the one I do. If that one's taken, I think this one's the most popular as far as I know. And then going further down a little bit is another 2 rotations, but I don't have a lot of time in that one as well.
Yeah, I think all the old rotations from Star's End, like a lot of the tech is just, it's all built on the crystals, and we're kind of forced, like based on distance and what can walk between rotations. But like a lot of the XP mindset is usually about where the packs are, how much distance is between them for like party considerations, and if whether 2 people can grind next to each other or 3. I think it's kind of been a little bit tricky to map out because the mobs in the new Star's End I think are not super dense, right?
No, not really.
Everyone has like the same kind of limited options, it feels like, and I feel like they could have made more towers, like maybe just.
Yeah, I feel like that they could have done that too.
Yeah.
Also,
cool
one more
spot.
question that like I guess this goes for anything, but you see how like the spot would be at a certain effective number. What's the lowest you would go for any spot in general under the cap?
As an XP player, I know that they've made these caps pretty stringent, so my general rule is about 30 AP below is the lowest that I consider trying it. Otherwise, it's probably just not worth the time.
Yeah, I think I agree with that one, because I've seen people doing it like 50 under. I'm like, is that really worth it? I don't know if you've done any sort of like testing at like, let's say Orbita, of how much you can trade off for XP versus AP.
Oh, it's so small. I think people discredit like how those last points of AP scale. And in fact, I'd say like every 20 points of AP past the target, right? I actually notice a pretty big uptick in like my ability to clear like while being brain dead, right? Like you can put a lot less effort in and get way more mileage if you have a few points extra.
Mm-hmm.
And I do this trade-off a lot, right? Where I'm trying to figure out, well, should I run Void Okred? Should I run double Brutal Decies? Is it worth it for me to throw on 2 Corrupted Gluttons instead of just normal Corrupteds to get this next AP bracket? Like, those are the types of trade-offs that an XP player would want to consider.
Right.
Is trying to figure out the comfort level versus the scalability of the time.
So
And
you would
like,
say
one
minus
thing-
30 just in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else you wanted to show in this spot, or is that, I didn't think there was too much to show here, but
No, I think I'm good here.
all right, cool. So anyway, that's been cool. If you have any questions, feel free to follow Jimmy on Twitch if you want to tell everyone like what your channel is. Do you do more YouTube stuff as well? Can people find you there and everything?
Yeah, for now I'm doing Black Desert mostly just on Twitch and Kick. I
Mhm.
do live streams on YouTube as well, but I may be getting more into some guide content. I feel like half of the people on my YouTube just are like, hey, do you have a DK combo guide or something like that?
I think that
But,
would be a good time because we currently have a 1 tag for DK, which is kind of a surprising thing I never thought they would do, but you know, I thought that was a cool thing. So check out Jimmy if you want to learn more about leveling, grinding. If you have any questions, go ask him, and Dark Knight stuff, because I assume you put in a lot of hours into your rotation and learning and perfecting everything, which I think is really cool. So yeah, what are your other plans for streaming and everything else besides just pushing
Well,
levels?
If you go to the leaderboard for growth on this server, you can tell that we're running a guild on North America focused on combat XP. So we're trying to get the goal of taking all top 30 spots with just like the top combat XP players in the same guild. So we have a fun side goal working on that. I would like to eventually get into other metals. I think I'll probably be doing some RBF and kind of branching into PvP a little bit. Yeah, working on some applications. I'm building like this Twitch minigame app. It's gonna
That
be a lot
sounds
of
awesome.
fun. Yep, more to come. More to come.
Out of curiosity, what is that guild logo?
And it's supposed to be an upward arrow with like a golden infinity Mobius strip kind of wrapped around it.
I thought it was like a chain link, but I was like, oh, that could be infinity. But then I was like, wait, what is that thing in the center?
Yeah,
That makes sense now.
arrows-
Growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Infinite growth, kind of the concept. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. So, because you're guild recruiting, what would be those numbers people are trying to hit if they want to apply to you since you're the GM?
Yep. If you are level 66 or above, we will pretty much always take you in on North America. We have maybe, I don't know, around like 10 or so spots for people who aren't necessarily high level, who may not ever be high level. But I'd like to think anybody who's like really active, like we have some people in here who have like max ecology, a few max energy people, just some all around, you know, chads. So it's been a fun guild to put together. It's only about a month old,
Mhm.
and we've got 30 or 40 good people in it right now.
So, is it strictly PvE and pushing levels, or do you do node wars and everything?
We've dipped our toes into Node War a bit. We're doing 3 blue battlefields every week right now: Sunday, Wednesday, Friday.
I'm interested in doing that, but I hate how you can't merc into guilds to do that.
Oh, yeah.
If they made that change, I'd probably do it.
Yeah, and the thing that BA needs to do, I think, is make it so that we can get blue battlefield buffs and RBF buffs. Sorry, not RBF, but Node War buffs.
Hmm.
They seem to overlap each other, and that seems kind of like a lost opportunity to have some people kind of, you know, work with other people who are maybe having different goals and stuff. So it's segmenting the player base a bit. But yeah, we're doing a bit of blue battlefield. We'd like to get more into Node War. We tried some tier 2 stuff and I had some fun, but I think our guild is a little bit too focused on XP right now.
Yeah,
to
that's
get
one thing
into
I was
some of
wondering.
that.
I was like, oh, if everyone in the guild is just pushing levels and grinding all day, do you guys do anything together, or is it just numbers?
Yeah, we do like guild bosses. We still have like, you know, we have a good group of, you know, people pushing boss splits with like guild runs. I think almost all of our bosses are top 50 now. I think we still need to work on our Jiggly, but yeah, some like dungeon run stuff like that. Nothing too crazy though. It's pretty casual. Mostly just making sure we're not wasting anybody's time. One unique feature of our guild is that we spend all of our guild funds on golden belts. So
Is that a secret channel or are you going to say it publicly?
No. No, we'll pop them on Valencia 456. You've probably already seen our bells if you're on those servers.
Hmm.
But yeah, we've probably popped over like 200 bells. It's 1 billion silver.
It's not
But,
too bad these days, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking that time out of your day. It's been awesome. Glad you could share some stuff. Yeah, if you want to know more, go follow Jimmy. All the socials and everything will be in the description. So thanks so much.